Have you ever stopped to think that maybe a big part of the furniture in your house serves absolutely no purpose? Yes, that's exactly what you heard. Many of the objects that seem essential in daily life are nothing more than dead weight, taking up space, getting in the way of your routine, and collecting dust. And even worse, you probably don't even notice anymore how much they make your home less functional, harder to clean, and visually heavy. The truth is that out of habit or social convention, we hold on to pieces of furniture that add nothing to our lives and that could easily be eliminated. I'm the facilitator, and today I'm going to show you the 10 worst pieces of furniture that most people still keep at home. And maybe some of them are sitting right in front of you while you're watching this video. The first piece of furniture on the list is a living room classic, the famous coffee table. It seems practical in theory, but in reality, it's a trap for your home. Do you know why? Because almost no one actually uses it the way it's supposed to be used. Instead of holding something temporary, like a cup of coffee, it ends up becoming a dumping ground for everything. Remote controls, old magazines, overdue bills, forgotten glasses, and even random objects that don't have a proper place. On top of that, it takes up a huge amount of space right in the middle of the room, making it harder to walk around and often even interfering with cleaning. And let's be honest, who really needs an obstacle right in the way between the couch and the TV? What do you think? Would you say a coffee table is indispensable, or is it just a big clutter magnet? Moving on, let's talk about the nightstand. What this little piece of furniture next to your bed actually does is accumulate stuff. Sure, the idea is to have a place for a lamp or maybe a glass of water, but in reality, almost every nightstand turns into a mini junk pile. Books you swore you'd read before bed, forgotten medicine, broken headphones, tangled phone chargers, empty wrappers. The list never ends. The bedroom is supposed to be the cleanest and most relaxing space in the house, but the nightstand often becomes the complete opposite. A messy corner that creates visual pollution. Wouldn't it be so much simpler to have a minimalist space without this daily source of clutter? The third piece of furniture that needs to be reconsidered is the shoe cabinet. On paper, it makes sense to have a dedicated place to organize shoes, but think about it. How many pairs do you actually wear on a daily basis? Maybe 2 or 3 at most. The rest just get forgotten inside, creating bad odors, taking up space, and even making ventilation harder. On top of that, many shoe cabinets are poorly designed, bulky, and far from practical. Instead of making things easier, they complicate them. The truth is, if you cut down the number of shoes and only kept the ones that truly make sense, you wouldn't need a giant shoe cabinet. A simple spot in your closet or a small rack would be more than enough without stealing so much space. Now let's get to the fourth piece of furniture on the list, the traditional bookshelf. Hold on. I know this might sound controversial, but I'm not saying books aren't important. What I'm saying is that most people keep actual shrines of bookshelves crammed with books that will never be read, that were bought on impulse, or that are just there for decoration. These shelves take up entire walls, collect dust, and require constant cleaning that, let's be honest, almost no one does properly. And there's another point. Nowadays, with e-books, keeping a massive home library isn't really necessary anymore. Does it really make sense to dedicate that much space to something that's more symbolic than functional in practice? The fifth piece of furniture is a true champion of uselessness, the extra dresser. In many homes, besides the wardrobe, people insist on having 1 or even 2 dressers. And What's the result? More space to accumulate clothes you don't wear, drawers filled with forgotten items, and a false sense of organization. The reality is, if you cut your clothing collection in half, you probably wouldn't even need a dresser. This piece of furniture only exists because we own more things than we should, not because it's actually essential. In sixth place, we have the TV stand, also known as the entertainment center. For years, it was one of the most popular living room pieces. But now, with TVs getting thinner and easily mounted on the wall, the stand has become a bulky relic. It takes up space, attracts dust, and ends up being nothing more than a surface for unnecessary decorative objects. Do you really need a giant piece of furniture just to fill empty space? In many cases, that stand could be replaced with absolutely nothing, giving the room more openness and a lighter feel. The seventh piece of furniture on the list is the decorative armchair. Yes, that nice-looking but uncomfortable chair that no one ever really sits in. It just stays there, in the corner of the living room or bedroom, only to complete the look. But in practice, it's just another surface for tossed clothes or a waste of precious space. If you think about it, a good portion of homes are filled with chairs and armchairs that are rarely used. Wouldn't it be better to free up space and make the environment more breathable instead of keeping furniture that serves no real purpose? In eighth place, we have the console table. It's usually placed in hallways or right by the entrance, and the idea is that it serves as a support piece. But what actually happens? It turns into a clutter station. Keys thrown down, unpaid bills, unopened mail, sunglasses, coins, wrappers, everything ends up piling up there. The console table creates a permanent point of disorder. And think about it. Do you really need a piece of furniture just to hold things that should actually be put away elsewhere? The ninth piece of furniture is the oversized dining table. Sure, having family and friends over is great, but let's be honest, how many times a year do you actually use an 8-seat table? Most of the time, it's just sitting there, taking up a huge amount of space, gathering dust and serving only as a surface to pile random objects that don't belong there. Nowadays, with busy lives and smaller spaces, it makes much more sense to have a compact, practical table that's proportional to your real needs. A massive dining table is almost always nothing more than unnecessary excess. And finally, the 10th piece of furniture on the list, the china cabinet. This one is a classic inherited from past decades, but it still lingers in many homes. It's basically a cabinet for displaying glasses, stemware, and dishes that almost never get used. Besides taking up lots of space, it gives off an outdated feel and ends up being nothing more than a storage spot for items that could easily be kept in a regular cabinet. How often do you actually open the china cabinet to take something out? Or is it just a showcase for pieces you barely remember owning? Now here's the big question. Why do we keep holding on to these pieces of furniture, even though we know they're not useful? The answer lies in habit, tradition, and even social pressure. We grew up in homes where these items were always present, so we assumed they were mandatory. But in reality, questioning this is a key step toward a simpler, more functional, and even happier life. Minimalism doesn't mean living with nothing. It means living only with what's truly useful and valuable in your daily life. Isn't it time to look around your home and ask yourself, is this piece here because I actually need it, or just because I was made to believe I do? And now I want to know from you, which of these pieces of furniture do you have at home that you feel is just taking up space? Do you agree that a giant dining table is useless? Or do you think it still makes sense for family gatherings? And what about the china cabinet? Do you think it should make a comeback, or is it way past its time to disappear? Tell me in the comments, because I'm sure this is a topic that's going to spark lots of different opinions. If you've made it this far, you're probably already looking at your living room or bedroom in a different way. Maybe you're already thinking about freeing up space, selling useless furniture, or simply reorganizing your home so that it works better for you and not for social conventions. The most important thing is understanding that having fewer pieces of furniture doesn't mean less comfort. On the contrary, it means more freedom, more space, and a more practical life. So before buying that new piece of furniture, stop and ask yourself, is this really going to improve my life? Or is it just going to turn into another piece of dead weight in my home? A big hug, and I'll see you in the next video.